G'day folks, this is Dragon. Just doing a bit of cleaning up around our fruit trees here. Nice warm sunny day. And it's been rather dry for the last 3 or 4 weeks. What we've got here in front of us is a mulberry tree. It's a sapling that was given to me about 3 months ago. I planted it. Supplied by an off-grid homestead prepper just down the hill for me. And we've had an early, I suppose you could say an early spring this year. The temperatures over the last couple of weeks, daytime temperatures anyway, have been quite warm. So a lot of this deciduous trees, fruit trees, are out in bloom early. This being one of them, the mulberry tree in this part of the state. During the winter months it's deciduous and drops the leaves. I was living in North Queensland as a kid. We had mulberry trees up there, and it didn't get quite cold enough for the trees to drop their leaves. But anyway, just in the process of pulling out some weeds around it and putting a bit of mulch. There's still quite a lot of subsoil moisture here, and this goes back to the floods that we had around about 2 years ago, and recent rainfall since then. So this young sapling is doing very well, but of note, with young fruit tree saplings, and some of them may take a couple of years to mature or grow big enough to support fruit. This one here, I don't know, I'll see if I can get a close-up of it. Okay, got it staked up. Now what I've done is just loosely tie it off to the stake around here with a bit of blue cord, baling twine. Just loosely tie it, not too tight, because as the tree grows, you want room for the trunk and the stems to expand in there, and of course over time, as it grows, you can loosen that off a bit so it doesn't actually choke the tree itself, the sap flow to the top of the tree. Now, trees are small. This one has started to bear fruit, and when it is small, you really need to think about fruit such as this. Now, for a tree to produce fruit, flower and produce fruit, it does take a lot of nutrients and energy and such like for the tree to produce it. A tree this young, if you wanted to get a real growth spurt during the warmer months, it's best to just nip the fruit off the tree, so the tree doesn't spend a lot or use a lot of nutrients and energy supporting the fruit, but more towards helping the tree grow a bit more during the growing season. There's another one there. Okay. Now, some trees, as I said, there's another one I'll nip off there. You may need to do this for a couple of years, depending on the trees and how well they actually grow and mature. So I went through a couple of weeks ago when I was mowing this jungle down, and nipped some off, and of course some more have sprung up since, so it's an ongoing thing. That's a very juvenile one there. I don't know if you can see it. Hang on. Okay, that's a very small juvenile one. It's almost like the flower. Actually, it's just set. So it's one of those things with fruit trees when they're this young, depending on what type it is. And it's the same, with citrus trees and stone fruit trees like plums and peaches and apricots, those sort of things. And then this small, just nip the the fruit off the young saplings. Gives them a bit of chance during the growing season. And as I said, some of these trees may take a couple of years before they're big enough and old enough to support any real fruit growth on them. Another thing to watch too is when using the mulch around fruit trees is what they call collar rot. In that, when you're putting mulch around trees, just make sure you've got a bit of clearance around the stem where it comes out of the ground. The reason for this is that with rain and heavy dew and that sort of thing, if it's pushed up right up against the bark of the stem at ground level, they get what they call collar rot. In other words, it's too wet, and it will kill the tree. I've lost a couple of trees that way out at our alternative site. If you're using paper type mulch, I'm just using grass clippings here. One of the things I found very early, quite a few years ago, going back about 10 or 15 years, the type of paper you use. Now, some paper is better than others. Old newspaper, old cardboard, not waxed, and the type of print that's used on them. Now, if you use paper mulch or a mixture of paper mulch around these trees, paper such as what comes out of glossy magazines, shredded computer paper, doesn't do very well around these trees. In fact, shredded computer paper I used many years ago around some of our fruit trees at our alternative site, and what happened was that when the stuff got wet, yes, it soaked up the moisture, but then the stuff set like concrete, so any further moisture or rain, water put on it, it just ran off the top of it, and it takes a long time to break down. So you really got to look at, if you're using paper type mulches or combinations of using paper and other types of mulch, look at the quality of the paper. Old newspapers are the best. Some cardboards, just basic cardboard, not glossy stuff that you see on some commercial wrapping, and of course glossy paper out of magazines, because they do take a long time to break down, and can cause problems with actually setting hard and not getting enough water in around the root system of the tree. Alright folks, got a few more to do on fruit trees for homesteading. They'll be covered in later videos. Our gardens haven't recovered from the flooding 2 years ago, and indeed it's a problem around this area, which I'll expand on later on. So that's a little bit of information for you anyway. Reference fruit tree saplings. It takes time. You're not going to get fruit on them overnight, and sometimes they can take a year or two, sometimes more, depending on how they progress during their growth, before they actually produce suitable quantities of fruit. Alright, thanks for watching.